My Papa's Waltz by Theodore Retke. The whiskey on your breath could make a small boy dizzy, but I hung on like death. Such waltzing was not easy. We romped until the pan slid from the kitchen shelf. My mother's countenance could not unfrown itself. The hand that held my wrist was battered on one knuckle. At every step you missed, my right ear scraped a buckle. You beat time on my head with a palm caked hard by dirt, then waltzed me off to bed, still clinging to your shirt. The speaker of this poem is a son whose father becomes very rough towards him due to the effects of alcohol. The events of this poem happen sometime during the evening before the boy goes to bed. His father is drunk, where the whiskey on his breath comes from, and during this whole process of the father and son bonding with each other and getting ready for bed, the father and son interact in a way that is very rough but still loving at the same time. Because of the alcohol, the father cannot completely control his actions and therefore is uncoordinated while carrying his son, which causes him to knock items over. The mother just kind of stands there and watches and is not very happy with what's going on, but it's not severe enough that she would go in and stop it. And the son also notices how the mother is unhappy, and he worries that the mother is displeased because of the father's actions, but the son still continues to hang on to his father, not only for his safety, but also because he loves him despite the way he acts after he drinks alcohol. Examples of imagery are evident within the first two lines of the poem. In line 1, the whiskey on your breath allows the reader to become familiar with the smell that the speaker is accustomed to through his father. Although the smell of alcohol is strong, this imagery shows how the young boy cares for his father and is willing to ignore it as he stays with him during their waltz. In line 4, such waltzing was not easy. The word waltzing gives visual imagery of a couple dancing together. The sense of dance gives a strong sense of relationship between the father and son, and therefore enhances the overall poem, which shows how the son is still able to love his father and ignore his kind of roughness, and just still care for him in that way. It also gives a visual of the father and son moving around the house together as one, just as if any dancing couple were dancing together. The poem has an A-B-A-B rhyme scheme. This rhyming pattern gives a sense of rhythm, which also kind of contributes to the overall waltzing or dancing theme. Within the title, My Papa's Waltz, the word papa has a positive connotation which further illustrates the relationship between the father and son. The word papa versus the word father are very different. The writer of the poem could have used a word like father, which is a more serious and formal word, whereas papa is more close and loving, and that just really affects kind of the tone of the poem in general, and also the fact that the author titled the poem My Papa's Waltz and not just Papa's Waltz. In most poems where the speaker is talking about their father, kind of in a negative way or something like that, where you don't want ownership to your father, the title could just be Papa's Waltz, where if the son was really that displeased with the father's actions, he could have just had it that way. But the fact that the author titled the poem My Papa's Waltz shows how the speaker still, feels that connection with their father, and they do want to take ownership that, yes, he is my papa in that way. The word waltz in the entire poem could also be symbolic for the relationship between the father and son. In Waltz dancing, one partner usually leads the dance and has more control over the other. The speaker may be expressing in this way how the father had complete control over him during these times and therefore could not do anything except to follow along while he was being injured due to his father's drunken actions. The irony in this poem comes from the fact that a waltz is usually something that is slow, gentle, and elegant, and yet it's being compared to a drunk father who injures and kind of just, throws around his son while he's drunk around the house. Um, Overall, that comparison in general using waltz in a situation like this is just complete irony within the poem itself. The last line of the poem, "Still clinging to your shirt," completely enhances the overall message of the poem. Even after all of the rough treatment that the son receives from his father in his drunken state, the reader can sense that he is tolerant of his father's actions and is still able to care for him as a son does for his father. Even though the father is very violent with his son puts up with it and doesn't let it affect their overall relationship.